Hey. Still trying to up my hey count. I really want you to check out me painting this. I want you to check out all the skills that you can learn from following along in this video. But before you do that, if you're not currently a subscriber, please go out and subscribe to my channel and then come right back and check out how to do this. All right. It's Rod Bergeron, and today we're going to be starting a new piece of work here. I wanted to show you what it is that I got going on here. Essentially, I paint like a fauve most of the time. And a fauve, if you're familiar with Fauvism, fauve means wild beast in French. And the Fauves were a group of painters who painted around the turn of the century. Today we're in New Fauvism. And Fauvism is really about trying to entice conversations by using wild, crazy colors. And that's what it is that we're going to do here today. So this is a group of drawings and paintings that I've done in the past. And these are 4 drawings and paintings, but there's a huge group of these, and this is an area that I call the Birches. It's a real place, and I've gone there many times, spring, summer, winter, fall, and I've done a lot of different works there. I've done stuff like this. This is just strictly just drawing. This is drawing with watercolor. Again, it's pen drawing, and this is again pen drawing with watercolor, and this is pen drawing with just some simple pencil crayon in it. But I want to do this on a much larger scale, and I want to include a lot of the branches in the top. And so what I've got here is I've started to lay down some paint. I did a purple, very much purple ground, and I'm working on watercolor paper. And you'll see over here how purple it is. By ground, we mean sort of the background painting. And then I did a lighter purple. So this is the same purple, but just a little bit of the purple and a lot of the white. And then while that was still wet, I put some blue over top of that. Again, very, very thin blue with on top of the lighter purple. And then I've let that dry. And you've seen at the beginning here, I was taking the hairdryer. There's some spots here that have been going on for a couple of hours that haven't dried up. So I took the hairdryer, and now I'm going to draw, essentially I'm going to draw this onto here. So I'm going to do that in time lapse, so you don't have to see me do the entire thing. But I'm going to refer back to this drawing. And so if you remember the rule of thirds, top third, middle third, bottom third. Essentially, I'm going to put this entire painting onto this page, but I'm going to draw it on first, just in pencil. All right, so we got all this going on. Now I'm going to put the drawing on here, just in pencil. Okay, so essentially what I've done is I've transferred all of the black, I shouldn't say all of the black lines, the majority of the ink drawing onto the page in just pencil, just a regular pencil. And you can probably see some of the lines here. So I didn't want to put all the lines in, that's not necessary at this point. But what I did want to do was get an idea about where the ground is. Where is it that the ground is on this particular little piece of forest? And then I wanted to get an idea about where each tree was going to intersect with other trees. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get set up with some acrylic paint, and we're going to paint all of these trees white. So all of the underpainting for every one of these trees is going to be white. Okay, so acrylic painting is much like watercolor painting in that acrylic paint can be thinned out with water, all right, just like we would watercolor paint. And all of your brushes that you use in watercolor painting, you can use in acrylic paint. Just make sure you clean them out really well as soon as you get done using it. So today we're gonna take, I'm working with this Liquitex Basic. I have more expensive paint. I have Turner, I have all kinds of paint. Liquitex doesn't make any junk. You know it's gonna be a pretty good product. I've never had any problem with it, and I use it on commissions and other work all the time. I think it's a really good product, so give it a try. If you use more expensive paint, try giving the cheaper stuff a try once in a while and just, you know, see what happens with it. But I'm going to take this, so I'm going to use a number 4 round watercolor brush. I'm going to put my other brushes over here. You could use a smaller brush if you want to. You could use a bigger one. And I'm going to take out some white paint, not a whole lot. And I have clean water now. I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to put my brush into the paint, but I'm not going to thin out the paint a whole lot. I'm going to use the paint fairly thick. Okay, so I put a layer of white paint on this with the number 4 brush. I took the hair dryer, I dried it all, and then I went back and did quite a few touch-ups and laid on another layer of white with the number 1 brush. And you'll see we've built up some pretty good texture here, some pretty good, you know, small branches. A lot of this is going to be covered up with ink at the end. So I really want to let this dry now. I really want to give it a good, probably a good hour at least for it to harden up. All right, I'm back out here, and I picked this up the other day at Michael's. It was on sale, so I thought I'd give it a try. And what I do know about this is that it's oil paint, and it gives you all kinds of different effects. I haven't really tried this before. I've seen demonstrations of it, but it's oil, so it doesn't rinse off with water. It doesn't clean up easily. So you technically, if you paint with oils, you're going to know how to clean up from this. If you don't paint with oil, if you don't paint with oil, I would suggest you get yourself a little disposable 25-cent brush, or these are some sticks, just a regular stick that I've cut off and I've sharpened, and it will allow you, the stick will allow you to get into some smaller areas. But let's start with the brush and see what happens. All right, so you need to shake this vigorously, really super vigorously. Get yourself a little drink of tea, whatever it is that you need to do to get you going. And I'm just going to start with this. So I'm going to paint onto these trees. And I'm going to leave the white outline of the trees. I'm not going to film this entire thing. You will see at the end, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm working with this green, which is called Emerald, and I'm going to put this in both in the trees and in the ground, but also a little bit in the back here. I'm going to create some pine trees in the back here, a little bit further back, or we're going to make them appear a little bit further back. You really have to shake this stuff. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start with a pine tree in the back here. Oh hey, I did not see you standing there. So this is all dried. This green has turned out super cool, and I just touched it. It is actually still a little bit tacky. But that's okay, we're gonna move on anyways. So I wanna continue with doing these pine trees in the back here, and I wanna make them a little bit darker so they look like they're faded back into the background. And so I'm going to use these two colors. One is like a gray, and this other one is like, I think it's called blue metal. All right, that's pretty good. So remember when you're working with this that you pretty much need to mix this up every couple of minutes. And here we go. So okay, so I have this dark color on here, and I think that's turned out pretty good. It really pushed these pine trees sort of back further, made them look like they're quite a ways off in the distance. I might do some more of those pine trees actually in and around here, but that's yet to be decided. So I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna let this completely harden up now, and then I'm going to come back later and deal more with the trees. All right, so I turned my painting upside down, and I'm going to work a little bit with this color. It's a purple pearl. So I'm going to really shake these up really, really well. And again, I'll show you the first little bit, and then I'll time lapse the rest. I must say, this is one of the only times I actually ever sit down to paint is when I'm doing something like this. I'm going to start over here. I'll try to keep out of the way of the, so the camera can actually see what it is that I'm doing. Okay, so I'm back out here the next day, and this is all, I wouldn't say it's completely dry. It's still a little tacky in places. I wanted to put the camera down here at a lower angle so that you could see what it was that I'm doing. This is the stick that I'm using. See, it's just a regular stick. And I'm using Pebeo, I don't know. This color is turquoise, and I thought it would be worthwhile just to show you how it is I put this on. Put about that much on my stick at a time. Try to stay out of the light, and I just put a dot on the spaces. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just looking for the space, and I'm putting a dot on the space. Obviously, the more that you have on the stick at a time, the bigger the dot is going to be. Okay, so here's the finished product, and you'll see that the only thing that I really didn't film was me putting in all of these little gold dots. And I essentially went over the entire piece 3 times with gold dots because the background is mostly purple. The trees are gold. This is antique gold, and the color of the dots in here and in here is just gold. So the antique gold is a little bit you know, not quite as brilliant as just the regular gold. But I think you can tell from the finished product that it took a long time to do. It's many hours. I think it's probably in total, probably about 8 to 10 hours, but the finished product certainly is worth it. I'm very pleased with this. I think everything that I planned to do came out in this piece, which doesn't happen very often. And then matted. This is sort of how it is I want work to look most of the time. There's a really nice negative space here, nice negative space here. The spaces between the trees, the spaces between the branches, all worked out for me. I'm quite happy with this. Really all I have left to do is sign it, and that's it. Out the door it goes. So I really do hope that you give this a try. Again, this is this Pebeo. This one's Fantasy Moon, and the other one is Pebeo Discovery Set Honeycomb Effect. Give them a try. Not a whole lot of money. I picked these up at Michael's. Use any kind of regular little stick to put your dots on with. If you learned anything from this video, please give me a like. If you're currently a subscriber, I thank you very much. If you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot, and come back and see me again sometime soon.